Breaking news in 3, 2. All right, what is going on, guys? It is Adam, aka Marf, and this is Marfoogle News. Flight chaos as air traffic control systems go dark and planes stranded for hours. Now, we actually talked about this before any of these things happened. Of course, the government shutdown can cause a whole lot of different spots to essentially be over or understaffed, right? The government shutdown has caused another major air traffic control tower to go dark with no one available to direct planes due to staffing shortages. Remember, that is a government job. The Federal Aviation Administration, the FAA, has announced that Nashville International Airport will face a ground delay starting at 5 p.m. Eastern. And Nashville's air traffic approach control is expected to remain dark until after midnight due to the lack of air traffic controllers available. So if they're at their kid's birthday party, nobody's flying today. Again, they said, according to the FAA's website, the ground delay is already backed up by flights by more than 2 hours at the airport. Nashville International revealed on Tuesday that the FAA told the officials this reduction in manpower will remain in effect until further notice. So there's not enough workers to keep the planes in the sky. Now, I just wonder, there's a lot of things that have mysteriously shut down because of this shutdown and because of the lack of staffing. And this isn't the first time we've had a government shutdown, and they know the results of these shutdowns. One of the few differences, though, is this one, there's a lot of actual layoffs, not furloughs. So they're not giving them a break. They're actually canning them all together. Now, one thing that I see that is across the board is almost every theory of people basically saying, hey, isn't this coincidental that this is shut down when they have enough votes to, say, release certain files? Or isn't this interesting that, that they've shut down and that NASA is now understaffed and this weird interdimensional freaking object or, interstellar object is coming right into our neck of the woods? A lot of people have attached this to many things. What do you guys think? Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Now, before we get any farther into the news, I do want to remind you guys, make sure to go over to EMP Shield if you do want to protect yourself against an EMP strike. This is one of our suggestions because we do believe that this would be the #1 attack on the United States because it is one of our few vulnerabilities. Our actual grid is archaic, it is old, and it is vulnerable. It is being upgraded slowly because of an executive order in 2018 by this president in his last term, but it is not going as fast as it should be. Again, this is something that could knock out 90% of our population because of infrastructure. Once our water goes, people start to go. So if you do want to protect your vehicles, cars, trucks, motorcycles, boats, generators, gas, and solar, then make sure to get an EMP shield on that. This is the same technology and same company that is outfitting agencies like DHS, DOW, Department of War now, again, Air Force, FBI, and so many others, including the Dempster team helping protect the Texas grid. So go over and check it out, marfooglenews.com/EMP, and make sure to use that code MARF to save $50 off per device and, again, help our independent channel at the same time. Let's bring in my co-internet brother, Dex James. What is going on, and how are you doing today?
Well, hello, Adam, and hello, Foogle fam. I'm doing just fine.
So they're saying that the president is open to invoking the what act?
Oh, get this. So President Trump said on Monday that he would consider using the Insurrection Act to deploy the military if the federal courts prevented him from deploying the National Guard to protect federal buildings and conduct law enforcement operations. So this comment came literally right after as we reported yesterday, the federal judge had blocked the president from sending National Guard troops to Portland, Oregon. So if this relates to Portland or potentially even Chicago, which we've seen the big pushback from the city there, as we reported last night, and the Civil War comments from the mayor there and the creating of the ice-free zone, as they called it, where they were going to say none of the areas can be used by ICE and effectively trying to push the Fed out of the city. Does that mean we're on the brink of seeing him actually use this act? It's one of the strongest acts out there. It is, going to give him federal authority. It allows the president to nationally deploy U.S. military and federalized state National Guard troops to quell what the president deems as an insurrection against the United States. So very big and powerful act.
Doesn't that affect anywhere? It's not just Portland. So is it by area? So if they do this act, does it only apply to the area that they're talking about, or does this just give sweeping powers across the country? So they do it under a guise. So everybody's, just say hypothetically, everybody's in on this. They're all trying to get a problem that gives a specific kind of solution. The act is invoked, and then all of a sudden you technically can actually deploy military all over our country for one reason or the other. It will, of course, be because they are saying that it's because of these domestic terrorists, right?
Right. My guess is he probably will stay localized with it when he invokes it, but if it turns out to be one of those things that becomes an ongoing problem city by city, he might just say it's a national issue.
Yeah, and so that's a problem, because a lot of people are nervous that this is actually turning into a civil conflict. There's comments later by Russia. In fact, Russia mocks Donald Trump's America. Civil war is coming in the U.S. So you really got to listen to these comments. A Russian lawmaker has claimed civil war is brewing in America as he called Donald Trump dumb. Andrei Lugarov, the MP in State of Duma, the lower chamber of Russia's parliament, claimed that Moscow should take advantage of the Republican-Democrat divisions and cause a shutdown. Again, these were comments made. And it says, in a staggering appearance on Russian TV, which there's all sorts of propaganda that's always put out there. Sorry, you guys, almost choked there. So, yeah, you know that there's tons of crazy things that are said on Russian TV, but this is probably one of the most nuts. Between the two, U.S. political parties are entering a phase of being impossible to resolve, and the Kremlin should interfere. He said he doesn't treat claims that a civil war in America is coming as a conspiracy theory. In reference to the Republicans and Democrats, he said that they're currently using political repressions against each other in the most proactive way, which a lot of people actually agree with, right? Secondly, they will never agree about migration. We've heard it from their statements. Of course, we should take advantage of this unsolvable problem. It says he went on to accuse the U.S. of meddling in Russian affairs and said Moscow should be more politically aggressive. The U.K. suspects Mr. Lugovoy, a former KGB officer, just like Putin, of being one of two men responsible for the taking out of ex-Russian spy Alexander Litvinenko. So you know that he is in the pocket of the president. If he was in a part of that he's close. The Kremlin critic perished after ingesting radioactive polonium-210, which was believed to be administered in a cup of tea, one that Mr. Lugovoy may or may not have given him. So yeah, there's talk about civil conflict, and it is just growing and growing and growing. And obviously, many of us in this community, we're not fazed by many of these things that are being said. We just look at the potential and the possibility. The possibility that any 1% of this could be true, then you take regular preparations. You try to do it slowly and responsibly. But as far as what's happening right now, everybody has felt it for a very long time. What is really crazy is that movie Civil War, the actual movie that came out a couple years ago, by the same gentleman who did Mr. Robot, the essentially the show about taking down all of the world's cyber systems, something that also is said to supposedly happen at some point. At least that's according to the WEF, the W and the E and the F. So yeah, that movie was very, very creepy. And I'm sorry, I just misquoted. Mr. Robot and Leave the World Behind was that guy. The Civil War movie was another gentleman, and he did essentially a third-term president, which some people actually call the president right now because they believe last time should have been his second. So that movie, if you haven't seen it, I'm not going to spoil anything. It's not the best movie, but it is a pretty good picture of where this narrative could be going if it was a narrative. So again, we'll talk to you in our next show. Make sure to stay there. You're going to be ported right over if you're in the chat. If you were watching the replay, all you have to do is click here. Be safe, be prepared, and Marf out. Hopefully you are getting some water and food together. And again, we do believe that this is necessary. It is not an emergency. It's not sell your house yet. but it is most definitely crazy. We're going to talk about the $4,000 plus gold price now. It is skyrocketing. They know something. We're going to talk about 17 days to war. A lot of people are talking about this. October 24th. We're going to talk about that date, and we're also going to talk about all of the rest of what's happening. Again, we'll be back in just a few minutes. If you're watching replay, click that description down below.